Good morning. The March 10th, 2026 board meeting is now in order. I'm happy to welcome my fellow board members and the public. I would like to take this opportunity to remind the public that the appropriate place for public participation in the meeting is during your individual public comment opportunity as identified on the agenda. Outside of your individual public comment opportunity, your role in the meeting is as an observer. Paul, roll call, please.
Mr. Susan?
Here.
Ms. Wright?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Ms. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Trent?
Here.
At this time, the board would like to hold a moment of silence. I invite the audience to join. Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That brings us to the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On this morning's agenda, we have one proclamation, one presentation, 41 consent items, and three policy public hearing items. Changes made to the agenda since it was released to the public include the following. Added were F12 through F17, revised F9 and F41, removed was F18, F19, termination of instructional employee.
Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Anything to discuss? Paul, roll call, please.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Ms. Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Susan?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Trent?
Aye.
Please welcome Ms. Yvette Cruz to the podium to read the Bleeding Disorders Month proclamation.
Whereas considered rare bleeding disorders that include hemophilia, von Willebrand disease, and rare bleeding disorders are characterized by blood not clotting normally due to the lack of clotting proteins, also known as clotting factors. And whereas in the United States, more than 20,000 individuals live with hemophilia and rare bleeding disorders, with 6,000 of them living in the state of Florida. And 1 to 2% of the American population who have von Willebrand disease, and while treatment can help, the conditions are not incurable. And whereas symptoms of a bleeding disorder include unexplained and excessive bleeding, large or deep bruising, nosebleeds, and bleeding into joints, muscles, and soft tissues, and if someone has a bleeding disorder, they may have extended bleeding with incidences such as injury or trauma, menstruation, surgery, or dental procedures. And whereas the Bleeding Disorder Foundation of Florida, founded in 1996, supports the bleeding disorder community throughout the state, and its mission to improve the quality of life for people with the condition and their families through education, information, and referral services, advocacy, support, and research. And annually, the organization hosts 5Ks and fun walks and other events throughout Florida to bring awareness to the community and needed funding for research and support services. Now therefore be it resolved that the Brevard Public School Board does hereby proclaim the month of March 2026 as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month, a time to encourage all citizens to increase their understanding and awareness of these serious bleeding disorders, and thank the efforts of healthcare professionals, the Bleeding Disorders Foundation of Florida, and the National Bleeding Disorders Foundation organizations for their dedication and their commitment to improve treatments and ultimately a cure. Adopted by the members of the Brevard Public School Board, Brevard County, Florida, at the regular board meeting thereof held the 10th of March, 2026.
Do I hear a motion? Oh, whoa, so sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to wait. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Now go ahead.
That was a different type of
I did
roll
it.
call.
I did it. Go ahead now.
So I'd like to invite Samantha Nazario up to the podium, representing the Bleeding Disorder Foundation of Florida.
Yay.
It's ceremonial. It's different. I checked with Paul.
Okay.
Good morning, board members, superintendent, and guests.
Ms. Sam, before you get started, I just want to
Sure.
take a second and say thank you for all of your service on the BIPOC committee, along with many of the other things that you do for our community down south. I know that during COVID, you worked really hard on doing a lot of different stuff as far as, remember, the food drives we did and everything else. You deserve credit for that before we go. Today is about this ceremony, but you deserve something else. So I just want to say thank you for that before we get started.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. Good morning. I'm Samantha Nazario. I stand here today as a mother, a resident of this community, and the 2022 National Advocate of the Year. I represent the Bleeding Disorder Foundation of Florida, the National Bleeding Disorder Foundation, Our Familia de Sangre, and 120 other relatives that stand here with me today. March 2026 marks 2 milestones: the 10th anniversary of National Bleeding Disorder Awareness and our 6th year of a historic partnership with BPS. As the first in the nation to recognize our cause, you did not just pass a resolution, you ignited a movement. When my son Tyler was diagnosed at age 6 with von Willebrand disease, our lives changed forever. We handle medicine costing $15,000 per dose. Because specialized care is rare, Tyler's treatment center is over 2.5 hours away. We keep 3 treatments on hand just to safely pull off the driveway. The average cost for a patient like Tyler is anywhere from $300,000 to $1 million per year. The literal distance separating my son from life-saving treatment is 2.5 hours. We don't just survive, we thrive. Tyler is a proud BPS alumni and was honored as the first ever Hispanic Heritage Alumni Spotlight in partnership with many people on this board. He is also the creator of Team Tyler, which has raised over $75,000 for the Hemophilia Foundation, of which 89 cents on the dollar goes back directly to patient care. As a national advocate, he spent his 2024 spring break from Eastern Florida State College in Tallahassee securing support from Senator Mayfield for the Copay Accumulator Act. His work helped lead a historic moment where Congressman Bill Posey stood as the only Republican signature to sign the Quill to Congress discharge petition with 218 names to enforce the Affordable Care Act before his retirement. This county has a history of crossing party lines for what is best for our children. This isn't just one dose. It's about a financial crisis. Look at the rising insurance premiums we're all seeing. This isn't just about blue or about red or blue. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, we all have blood and we all need blood. And we all need our blood supply to be safe. Locally, the crisis is urgent. In April of 2025, the CDC was dismantled. Over 4,300 jobs were lost in the blood division alone. Our country stands with only 2 people to observe and protect our nation's blood supply. This also halted over 383 clinical trials, leaving over 75,000 patients and 2 decades of research in the dark. That is more people than the 71,000 students you service in Brevard County school districts. We cannot go backward. We must honor the 10,000 lives lost to contaminated blood that led to the Ricky Ray Act, and always remember the Ryan White Act and the 30,000 Americans who died because of our lack of resources and protections. Thank you, BPS, for leading the way in this fight, and we appreciate you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Samantha. Can we get a picture with you? Let's go down there and get a picture with her. Just going to denote that the red and the green is Italian colors. Thank you. That somebody with a white shirt can stand in between. We're now on to Dr. Rendell, who's going to overview his entire reorg that he has going on. So Dr. Rendell, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's not an entire organizational change, just a few minor changes. So, as the board members are aware, our Chief Financial Officer, Cindy Luzinski, has tendered her resignation. She'll be leaving at the end of the month. Having a CFO position open presents a big challenge. That's a pretty important job. It's a member of the executive team. It's a high salary job. Before we go out and look at a new CFO, we thought about, well, do we have people here on staff that could do the work? Can we absorb the work here? We are in a challenging budget time right now, so if we could save a little money and keep the work in-house, we thought we would do that and take a look at that. So I've discussed this with each of you individually, but we want to share this information with the public. There is some misinformation out there about we're adding all kinds of positions at the district office, yet we're cutting positions other places. That is not true. So I'm going to walk you through a PowerPoint presentation today that should answer a lot of those questions. So as I mentioned, the resignation of the CFO presents an opportunity to streamline district management. So our proposed organizational restructure, HR, Human Resources, the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources will take over payroll. They already oversee health and benefits. The Deputy Superintendent, Sue Han, would be responsible for financial services, but also retain her role of supervising facility services. Some key staff positions we created and modified in financial services and facility services to better serve our operational needs and make sure that we can get all the work done. It's also a way for us to start to build some succession planning, especially in that financial department, in the Department of Finance. So many of these changes are on today's board agenda. So I'm going to walk you through what the organizational chart would look like. I'm a visual learner, so I imagine a lot of other people, this might help explain some things. This is the current organizational chart for the executive team. The District and School Security Officer, Major Robert Klein, is a direct report to me, but he's not considered part of the cabinet. All of the other 9 positions under there are considered part of the cabinet or the executive team. So there are 9 positions. As you can see, the Chief Financial Officer is listed as vacant. So the proposal is to eliminate this position and streamline and reduce the members of the executive team. So to go from 9 members of the executive team to 8. You can see the change in title for Deputy Superintendent Sue Han is just Deputy Superintendent now, not 15 other things, just Deputy Superintendent. So this is the proposed structure. We eliminate the Chief Financial Officer position, reducing a cabinet level position, reducing a salary cost. Now we're going to use that salary to spread out over some other positions, but also we will realize some savings in the end. This will be a cost reduction in the end. So right now, Sue Han oversees facility services. The proposal is that she would oversee facility services and financial services. This is the current makeup of financial services. The CFO position, which is now vacant, 3 director positions under that. Director of Accounting Services, Budget Cost Accounting FTE, and Payroll Services. The proposal for financial services looks like this. Sue Han, the Deputy Superintendent, would oversee financial services overall. We do want to add a new position, Executive Director of Financial Services. The job description is on the agenda for today. So this would be like an assistant CFO, maybe a CFO in training. This would be someone who we believe has the skill set to lead this department, but maybe doesn't have the experience just yet, that kind of thing. So this is the only additional position in financial services. So this would be an add. Obviously, the salary for this position would be much less than the CFO position that we're eliminating. In the bottom right of the other 3 boxes there, you see Director of Accounting Services, Director of Budgeting, Cost Accounting, and FTE. Those were both on the previous chart. That position to the right is new, Director of Financial Planning and Cost Analysis. That position was already in the budget for next year. The board had approved that position 2 meetings back, and we have interviewed and are ready to hire that position. So this is not a new cost to the budget. We already had this in the budget. It's a new position. but it already was in the budget. And we have selected that person, and their appointment is on the agenda for today. So even though it's a new position, it's not a new cost, it was already in the budget. For facility services, there are also some changes on the way. So, Deputy Superintendent Sue Hand, this is the current. She has those 3 directors: Planning and Project Management, Environmental Health and Safety, Plant Operations and Maintenance. The proposal is to keep those 3 directors in those spots, but then upgrade some of the people that report to them. The facility planner position is new, but the cost for that will be offset by eliminating a vacant position. The manager of environmental health and safety would be a new position. Manager of maintenance operation would be a new position. We have people identified for those positions, and so when we promote them to those positions, the only delta will be the difference in what they're making now and the new salary. Their current positions will not be filled. So when you add all of these changes up, we're still going to see a budget reduction. The only other change to the organizational structure is payroll. Right now, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources Ryan Dufresne has Human Resources and Professional Standards and Labor Relations. He would just add payroll to his area of supervision. In a lot of districts, payroll does reside in Human Resources anyway, so it's a natural fit. What we're asking the board to do today is, number 1, accept the resignation of the CFO, appoint the Director of Financial Planning, Cost Analysis, and Innovation. Again, that was a position that we added 2 or 3 weeks ago, was board approved. It's already in the budget. It's not an additional cost. Then the new job descriptions for Deputy Superintendent, Executive Director of Finance, Manager of Environmental Health and Safety, Manager of Maintenance and Operations, and that new Facilities Planner job. So the idea is, when we thought about the fact that we had a CFO opening, do we have the people in the room, so to speak, on staff already that can do this work? And we do. We think we do. So we want to restructure the organization so that those people can do those jobs, fill those positions. I think one of the things that makes this, I don't want to say easier, but more attractive, is the fact that Sue is a big player in this. Everybody respects Sue and her work. She already oversees a rather large budget in capital, and everybody trusts her work with that. She also oversees the sales surtax funds, and everybody trusts her work with that. She actually came to me when we realized we were going to have a CFO opening and said, I have experience in this type of stuff. I feel like I could help the district in some way by overseeing finance. So that's the proposed restructuring. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the detailed explanation of this. And obviously, when you presented this to me personally, my concern was is this a cost savings to the district? The question I would like you to answer publicly, is this a long-term plan, or is this a short, term fix for something? Do you anticipate hiring a CFO, and how will that change the structure if we were to hire a permanent CFO?
Yes, it's a really good question. I think we're looking at this for at least a year to 18 months. We want to see if this organizational structure will work, and if it works, then we will carry it forward, for perpetuity. But if in the next year to 18 months we see that assistant director position becomes, someone who can take over the role, then, maybe we go back to having a CFO. If we were to do that, that would change Sue's role. So.
Thank you. I want to say also to Sue, thank you, because honestly, you manage so much right now, and so there is a level of relief, I think, for myself, and probably I don't want to speak for everybody else, but knowing that you're willing to step up and step into this role, because we do trust you implicitly. So I appreciate you. That's the only question that I had. Thank you.
Good.
I just want to make one last comment, since we're on television or whatever. There was some chatter out there in the public about us adding positions while we're cutting positions other places. We are streamlining. There are some new job descriptions. There is one new position, but in the end, this will save money. And so, there was chatter out there about that, and we don't always get to explain before, job descriptions go up on the agenda and that kind of thing. So hopefully this presentation will allay anybody's fears that we're adding more bureaucracy while we're cutting other places. So it will streamline
Go
and
ahead.
make us more efficient.
Ms. Campbell.
Yeah, on that line of thought, can you just share again that the 7% that has been wildly misunderstood in the public, that you've asked people in this building to do, that work is already in process, was already in the plan. Ms. Lisinski had already identified areas of positions that wouldn't fall in this chart because they're farther down in the structure, right? But those, we've already had reductions or planned reductions due to retirements and natural attrition, vacant positions. Those things are continuing to happen that will be part of the 7% across the district leadership, district offices, correct?
Yeah, so again, want to make sure everybody understands, the 7% reduction was for district-based services, so not school-based people, not
Right.
teachers, not anything like that, district-based services. And it's cutting 7% of the district-based payroll,
Right,
human capital for next budget year.
right.
So nobody, now we did realize some of those savings by vacant positions that are vacant today, that we went ahead and eliminated for next year's budget. But there were some reductions of actual positions, but most of it was realized with restructuring or eliminating vacant positions. But again, that was not at the building level, at the school building level. There were some small reductions in PAR, but we typically see those every year anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Dr. Rendell, thank you so much. I again applaud you for bringing forward something that is going to reduce cost, and I applaud you for cutting the budget from from the district headquarters, because everybody always says that. If there's a way that the board members can get the overall plan, reviewed so that we know ahead of time. The other thing is that, we all deal with the chatter online of all the social media that tells people things that aren't true. And, that's why it's called fake book and other things that we understand. So anybody that's listening out there, please wait until the school board meeting to figure out exactly what the truth is behind things, because there's a lot of false accusations out there. So with that, everybody good on this? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm going to roll into some stuff now. We're now on to the public comments portion of our meeting. We'll have, are we still at 3? Two public speakers. Each will receive 3 minutes. Our attorney will call the speakers in the order which they're signed up to speak. Mr. Gibbs, please call the first 2 speakers.
Mark Levine and Bernard Bryan.
Good morning, Mr. Superintendent, members of the board. My name is Mark Levine. I'm with the firm of Levine and Stivers in Tallahassee, and I'm here on behalf of your agenda item regarding the Dan Bennett and the superintendent's request to relieve him without pay during the pendency of a termination hearing at the end of the month. Your comments about social media, Mr. Chair, absolutely appropriate. Social media is out of control. And I hate the fact that you guys have to deal with it, but I hate the fact that anybody has to deal with it. So let me suggest to you this, which should be helpful. The Department of Children and Families has cleared Mr. Bennett, and as of 4:30 yesterday, the Sheriff's Department in Brevard County has cleared Mr. Bennett. I was with the detective personally with Mr. Bennett, and they announced they were closing their file. I'm quite disturbed by this press release. I presume each of you have seen it. It's about half a page that went out. I don't know why it went out. This whole incident has not been discussed publicly, nor has it been ramrodded around through the district. This just generates more concern, more publicity, more comment, particularly on social media. Plus, the press release is absolutely inaccurate. It says specifically that 2 students engaged in oral sex while Mr. Bennett was under their care. That is not true. The Sheriff's Department confirmed that there are varying stories about what occurred. The seriousness of the event, they cite to Mr. Bennett being the past president of BFT, which is true. And for those of you who were on the board when Mr. Bennett was president, you will remember that he was very instrumental in helping this board and the union come together on a number of important issues. To bring this out about Mr. Bennett is just another strike at the union. It's uncalled for, and it's just pushing the program of the Commissioner of Education and the governor to do anything to criticize union and move forward to make public education private schools. The press release is inadequate. Whoever put this out ought to be ashamed of themselves. They ought to be ashamed of themselves because they embarrass a 32-year employee with no discipline, his family, his children, and they put this out when there's no reason to do so. Now, if the superintendent wants him suspended while we go to a hearing, because I can tell you we're going, we're signed up for this one, then they ought to do it. And you ought to consider that at the end of the month on March 31st when you consider the termination recommendation. If you want to punish Dan and continue to punish him while this is pending, then go ahead and put him on leave without pay. No
Thank
reason.
you. Thank you, Mr. Levine. Mr. Bryant?
Good morning, Board, Dr. Rendell. Again, my name is Bernard Bryan, and I represent the South Brevard branch of the NAACP, as well as the concerned citizens. I just want to say a couple of things. Looking at your administrative recommendation, I just want to publicly thank Ms. Bowman, and I've heard that she's retiring, and Ms. Bowman has done a fantastic job engaging the community. It's kind of how I got started, so I just want to personally thank her. She got the community together talking about educational issues, and she deserves a lot of credit for that. And I would also like to give a big shout out to Ms. Sue Hand. You guys said that she has a lot of credibility. You know, we trust her. You know, we consider her our family a little bit, so I'm her adopted brother. And we just pray that she can handle all this workload and that she can stay healthy during this time. But I want to have a shout out. Last week, I visited University Park Early Education Program. And I did a walkthrough with Ms. Myers, Ms. Barlow, as well as Ms. McDonough. I was so impressed with what I saw with the early learning classes. Those kids were engaged. The team was so professional. When I saw those kids, they came running to me, hugging me. I went hugging them. In my mind, I said, why don't every child in Brevard County have that early learning opportunity? So that's my plea with you today. You know, we looked at your millage taxes. Is there any opportunity to move some of that bucket to help in the canvassing area? Are there any opportunity to really boost the advertisement in those marginalized community? So I just want to, I'm going to say, beg this board to really put all the resources you can. When I saw those kids' faces, it was like, oh my God, Brevard Public School has the best early learning program. And I was so proud to be there with Ms. McDonough and the team. And I just want to see what we can do to canvass more, advertise more. I've been passing out flyers personally, but every child needs to experience that, no matter which side of the track you live on, no matter what your finances are. So I just hope that we heard our heads on that. You know, we want to partner with you. If you need me to pass out flyer, call me out. I would do that. This is where it all begins. Kindergarten readiness is where the gap's gonna close. And looking at the marginalized areas, there are a lot more opportunities to engage every child.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. That concludes the agenda items only for public comments. We thank you for taking time out of your schedule to address the board with your concerns and suggestions. I would like to remind the public that the board is accessible for further conversations outside of our business meeting through scheduling a meeting. We're now on to the consent agenda. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are 41 items on the agenda under this category.
Thank you, Dr. Rendell. Does any board member wish to pull any of these items?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to pull item 18, suspension of instructional employee.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. I'll now entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda for tonight's agenda minus the number 18. Would anybody else like to pull an item? No?
Move to approve the agenda as.
Minus the 18.
Right.
Okay. Got to get a second somewhere? Second. All right. All those, Paul, you want a roll call, please?
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Ms. Campbell? Mr. Susan?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Mr. Trent?
I was going to say, it's
He
two
said aye
votes. All right, Mr. Thomas, you have number 18.
We need a motion and a second.
Move to approve.
What's the motion?
Oh.
Move to approve this, number 18 is suspension of instructional employee. Do you have a second?
You have to second it to have the conversation.
All right, I'll second for conversation.
Yep. There we go. Your floor,
Oh,
sir.
okay, thank you. Yeah, so I would like to postpone this item, or at least discuss it today, though I in no way condone the alleged inaction of our teachers and staff that were involved in this incident, if that actually occurred. I just want to ensure that we have all the facts and make sure the due process is, taken into account and all rights are protected on the student side and the teacher and staff side. And after reviewing the investigation, I think it would be prudent for us to make sure that we have the DCF summary and obviously the final police reports before we take any action on this. So I know this is only for suspension at the moment. The other thing I'd like to, I guess ask the superintendent or bring to the board's consideration, I don't know if this is a board matter or if it's appropriate, but I know that currently he is on unpaid leave, and I just want to make sure that how this teacher is being treated until proven guilty is consistent with how we've treated other teachers that have been arrested for, and this teacher hasn't even been arrested, he's been cleared apparently by the BCSO. So to make sure that this teacher is not getting unfairly penalized before we are able to get all the facts.
You had said that he was currently on unpaid leave. He's currently paid.
Oh, he's currently paid, okay, I was under the understanding it was unpaid leave according to.
Now it is. This
When
would
we-
be,
if
that
we
would be the
vote on it.
motion that you're doing. I just wanted to make
It
sure.
said on February 25th, Mr. Daniel Bennett was placed on unpaid leave from his position. That's what it says in our
Okay,
packet.
and this is furthering the February 20, okay.
So my suggestion is I don't, just for discussion purposes, I think, and make sure that we're being consistent with other employees and teachers that, like I said, no way condone. I don't have all the facts yet, so I'm not saying he should, that he's not, that we shouldn't move forward with the process. I just want to make sure we have all the facts, and until we have all the facts, I want to make sure that we're consistent with how this particular teacher is being treated, that it's consistent with other employees of in a similar nature or worse.
Okay. Mr. Trent?
I'm happy
Ms.
to go
Campbell?
next if you'd like.
Okay, there you go.
I appreciate the due diligence that you want us to have. Mr. Levine does his job, he does his job well. His job is to defend a member of the union, and every time that I've had him or any other representative of the union come before me, since I've been on the board, they do the same thing. They emphasize the points that they feel like they need to emphasize to defend their clients. I just want to get our focus back on what the focus is. The things that Mr. Levine mentioned are not necessarily the most important, at least for me, and I think to the district, what the most egregious error was, which has been admitted. The non-reporting. It is once something happens or you are told that something has happened, it is not as a teacher or an IA or a custodian or a cafeteria worker, it is no longer in their realm of authority. They must immediately report it to their supervisor, because that person is the one who is responsible for doing the investigation, for making sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. The teachers don't get to make that decision of whether they're going to report it or not. If there's a concern, they think something might have happened, they have to take it to their supervisor. And that is the thing, that's the law. It's our policy, it is also the law. And that's what we're looking at. Regardless of what the sheriff might have said, DCF might have said, those things have not been reversed that I'm aware of, and it certainly wasn't mentioned this morning, and if they had been, I think we would have been told that. I did have a question that will help me, help us, I think, make this decision. Paul, if we go to the hearing and magistrate, judge, whoever's in charge of it, decides that we unfairly made even this decision, putting Mr. Bennett on unpaid leave, there is recourse for him to receive back pay if that decision is found in favor of the employee. Is that correct?
Right, yeah, they wouldn't really view this piece if he's reinstated. If you
Reinstated.
move forward with the termination, as Mr. Levine mentioned, is on the agenda for the 31st, he would
Right.
get back pay to the period. I mean,
Okay.
the decision could be a suspension without pay for 20 days, 30 days, whatever it is, and then he would get back pay without the 30 days. But yes, it would be, if he were to prevail at the hearing, he would get back pay.
Okay, that helps. But your question is fair, and if the superintendent be willing to answer, or APS staff willing to answer, is as far as what we have done when we put people on paid leave versus paid leave, depending on the situation, being consistent, that is a legitimate request that it would be good to get answered if we could.
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Campbell. We have put other employees on unpaid leave. This is not the first time we've done that. Several instances recently.
Thank you.
So my question is though, I know that we've had teachers that have been arrested. I don't remember specific cases as far as paid or unpaid leave, but even more egregious than probably than this incident. Not saying this is not, it could be potentially egregious. My concern is that there's no doubt a teacher, whether this turned out to be unsubstantiated by the report. It doesn't mean that the teacher did not have a duty to report, even if it turned out to be false. Don't dispute that at all. I just want to make sure that we're consistent with how this is investigated, and that both the teacher and the students are protected.
I'd like to weigh in on this one, if
Yes,
possible.
ma'am.
Okay. All right, so just for clarification purposes, teachers are mandatory reporters. That is a fact. They are not mandatory reporters to their supervisor. They're mandatory reporters if they see something as far as they're concerned for child abuse, neglect, abandonment, or other misconduct that will affect a student's health. They're mandatory reporters to DCF. My issue, and I've been very honest about this with my conversations with Dr. Rendell and HR, I spent quite a bit of time reading through the investigation yesterday myself, is consistency in application. I feel like that's a very valid question. There were other adults that were in the room when this alleged incident took place. Are we consistently applying fair discipline across the board? So I have some concerns there as well. In full transparency, I acknowledge my bias to this teacher. This teacher taught my child and taught my child very well. And so I know him, and I am, he's an exceptional educator, and he does have a stellar record for 32 years. It doesn't take away the fact that he is still required, as is every other employee of our district, to report anything that they suspect when a child is potentially in danger. So that part of it, I wrestle with the disconnect there. Right now, the motion that stands on the floor is for us to approve the superintendent's recommendation. And so obviously, we'll have to go through that motion. Depending on how that motion comes out, I suspect the proper protocol would be for an amended motion if it doesn't pass. Is that correct, Mr. Gibbs?
If it fails, then there will be no motion on the floor. Somebody can make a motion.
Make another motion if there was needing
You
to
can
be a
also
change.
amend
So-
the current motion. You can amend it for different,
Yeah,
pieces.
so, and I guess the issue I have is that the investigation is not completed for all the other employees that were present in the room, right? So there is that. That does exist. And so how do we pick one that we chose first that we're going to go ahead and investigate, and then what about the others? And so there is inconsistency there in my mind.
would
But-
you like to make an amendment to the current?
Well, I can't amend her motion. She'd have to amend her motion.
You can.
Correct?
You can
Can
put
I
an
amend her
amendment.
motion?
Yeah,
You can
put
make
it-
a motion to amend, but then it would have to be approved by the board.
You would approve yours, and then it would come back to it to approve. That's the proper
That's gonna
process.
be- okay.
No, it's better than going and denying something and coming back.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion to amend, I guess, Ms. Campbell's original motion to approve, and just ask that this be pulled until the complete investigation for all employees is done and it's addressed at the same time.
I don't think that works with this motion.
And I would recommend you just make that motion separately. If
Okay.
you wanted to do that.
Okay, that's
If
what I was
take
saying,
the
like,
vote
should we
on
allow
this
hers to
one,
go?
That's not really an amendment, that's just postponing the decision down the road.
Right.
So,
Pulling it,
Yeah.
Which would have to
which is fine, but I would take the vote on this. It's going to get messy if you,
Well, that's what I was thinking. That's why I was saying, should we vote hers or?
I would, yeah, recommend you do it.
Okay, all right. So I have, yeah, again, just
beg you
to
differ.
summarize what I said, I have issues with consistency of application, and I too was frustrated with that letter that got sent out. I think it was, I understand the district's position in this, I understand it, and I understand the union's position in it, and somewhere between this, the board is caught, right? Because we're the ones that are responsible to make the decision that is the best decision to protect the overall well-being of the district and our students. So it is a struggle for me. I will go ahead and convey that very clearly. But I do think that we have to have consistent application, if nothing else, so. Mr. Chair?
Well, actually, Mr. Trent hasn't weighed in yet.
Oh, he said he was good, I thought.
Yeah, but going back and forth, he was.
He's a man of many words.
Especially today. I'm a little under the weather, but I'm
I'm
listening.
hearing multiple people's voices.
Did you have something you needed to say?
No, if I could
Yeah.
speak to what
This-
Ms. Wright
this-
shared. I will express my own frustration, which I shared with Dr. Rendell yesterday, about the press release, but I have to make this decision today regardless of what we might have put out to the press. As far as going with other employees, we can, I haven't heard or seen anything that says that we're not also following the process with other employees. That discipline just hasn't come to us. And I don't think it would ever be appropriate. I don't think this is exactly what you're saying, but it's kind of coming across this way, that we would make one employee's discipline dependent on another employee. We have the ability to, and we should, because also the level of responsibility is different. The reporting is the same, but the level of responsibility in the classroom is different, to make sure that we're going through each one. And also, some of it has to do with what was admitted, right? If someone admits something, then there's not really as much investigation that has to happen. So, I just would caution us always against making the decision on one employee dependent on another. I think those are separate. They need to be done. The investigation needs to be done. The decisions need to be made. If they need to be brought before us, they need to be brought before us. But those are separate, and they always need to remain separate in my mind.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Well, this is some good discussion here. I would like to amend her motion, Ms. Campbell's motion, and move forward with it, move for approval, but change it from unpaid to paid until this has been resolved. And I will tell you this, my hiccup in the whole thing is, yes, because he is a 32-year employee with a stellar record, has a phenomenal record as a teacher here, that we want to make sure that, yes, there's not condoning, even through his own admission, he should have reported it, but there's a big difference between reporting something that was a rumor and unsubstantiated and something that actually occurred and proven to have occurred. In my mind, for not saying he shouldn't have received some kind of discipline, even if it was just a false rumor, he still had a duty to report. But obviously, if it not being, sorry, but I think it lessens the severity if it turned out to be proven to be a false rumor or unsubstantiated claim. So I'm not saying there's not should a teacher of 32 years with a stellar record be eventually terminated because of this incident, or should they receive discipline? That's something that can be determined. I just don't think it can be determined at this point.
So the motion on the floor is to take the termination of pay and move it to.
Suspension without pay.
Suspension of pay, to move it to the same time as a possible termination? Is that
I'm
what
just
you're
moving it to make it paid until the issue comes back up. And I think by the time this comes back up on the agenda, hopefully we'll have the DCF summary and we'll have more facts on the investigation.
So basically, the next time they would come up would be at the termination would be, or the non-termination or anything like that, and when it does come up. So if it does come up that it's termination, then that would be the date that we would decide to terminate the pay under this motion. And if you moved forward with it and there was no termination that comes up, he's continued to be paid, is what it is.
Correct. I just think
Does everybody understand that?
Yeah, I have a question. Oh, sorry, we need to.
He needs
I have a
he needs a
question
second.
if the suspension is the right term, because do we have suspensions
It's
with
just,
pay?
it's just unpaid. Right now, yeah, they're putting him out on unpaid leave.
Right, but that's the
And
nature
so,
of a
yeah,
suspension.
He wants to make it paid leave.
No,
So
he's
we
making
change
a,
it to leave, not
Yeah.
suspension.
no, he's
That's-
just saying
that's
that
what we call
he wants to terminate the pay upon termination, is what it is.
No, I'm saying that while this is going on, to change it from unpaid leave to paid leave. I'm sorry if I threw in the term
No, it's
suspension.
okay.
Right, the
Do you-
suspension is what is in the motion,
Right.
so we need to change it from suspension to
Well,
paid leave, because that's a different.
That's what's in labor relations. It says suspension of instructional employees,
Right.
so.
Right.
Which is by nature unpaid.
So you
We
need
need
a
a
second.
second.
Sorry, okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around. Your recommendation is to change it to paid leave, excuse me, until this comes back before the board at the end of the month.
Or if they don't bring it before the board, it never
They
happens.
may move in a different direction depending on the DCF summary and, once the investigation is complete.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All right, so now we're on the next discussion. Do you want to care to elaborate any more? Does anybody else wish to speak to this motion? Ms. Campbell?
I am in favor of my original motion without change. I think there, like I said, if we get the investigation done, the pay will come back, but I don't think this is the right direction to go.
Oh, you're hitting your button, go ahead.
Well, like Ms. Campbell said, and I think, Dr. Rendell could weigh in on this too. When we mention suspension, it is typically without pay. In many times. So I concur with Ms. Campbell. If, during the suspension, it's without pay. If it comes at the end that, this teacher prevails, he'll get whatever he's got coming to him. So just to keep it under the same language, I would keep it the same myself instead of changing things around at this point.
If I can add one thing really quick, this was actually from a slideshow put on by union representatives at a school faculty meeting last week. They thought that this particular issue was so important, may have been unprompted, but my guess is it was prompted by the current situation. They actually had a whole slide that they went over in detail saying, titled Student Supervision and Reporting, and here are the bullets underneath it. Do not leave students without supervision. Treat every incident, no matter how small, as something that must be reported. If a student trips and falls, report it. If a student shares information with you, even if it sounds like a rumor, report it. When in doubt, document it. If a conversation happens verbally, follow up with written documentation. Protect yourself by assuming nothing is too minor. The union thinks this is important.
Any other discussion? All right. Paul, roll call, please.
Mr. Thomas?
Just to clarify,
This
this
is
is for
on the
Ms. Campbell's
amendments.
original
No,
motion.
this is for your amendment.
Amended a motion.
Then I vote aye.
Ms. Campbell?
Nay.
Mr. Season?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Trent?
Nay.
Now back on to the original motion. Anybody have any conversation on it?
I do.
Well, it's the
It's an
motion
Null and
so-
void.
as
Right.
amended, so
Okay.
it would be paid leave.
I have a question. Okay, it's still leave, though, right? So, and without it, we don't have an end date to this until, our proposed end date is the next time it comes before the board on the 31st. Okay.
I have one more thing too, when you're done, Ms. Campbell. I want to recommend that we take this time, and I asked this question when I was in HR yesterday, spending several hours going through the file and the investigation, that the district takes the initiative to go ahead and send some type of link, some kind of training, additional training on mandatory reporting to every single individual within and I know this probably happens when it comes to professional development, but I couldn't get a real clear answer there, so I think it's a good time right now just to remind all of the employees their responsibility and requirement is not to investigate, it's not to assume that something is or isn't true, it is to report. That is their responsibility. And this case kind of makes this glaringly obvious point, so.
Mr. Chair,
Sir?
Mrs. Wright, it's part of their annual training every August.
It is.
Every August.
Can we do it twice a year? I just feel like
And
it.
how many times does it take to get this message? How many times does it take to get this message? It's a very important message, and I'm pretty sure they have to sign off that they watched it
And
or went through the training.
That is correct.
Well, fair, but just in this conversation, Ms. Campbell, you just stated that they are supposed to report it to their supervisor. No, they're supposed to report it to DCF. So that's why I'm just saying, I think there's a misconception, and this case is very obvious about this, on who am I reporting it to? Because there were 3 adults in that room, and that means that, technically speaking, 3 adults should have all called DCF, all 3 of them. They shouldn't have reported it to another teacher or an admin or whatever.
And they should have let their admin know.
Well, absolutely,
you
but
do.
their first step is calling and reporting it. And so that's why I'm just saying, I think there's a misconception. And if you have a 32-year veteran that has this misconception, it's probably a fair assumption to make that there are many others in the district that have.
You're assuming that it was a misconception, and I
was
would,
not.
without knowing, I would think
Well, there was-
that's
there
a
was-
stretch.
There was 3 adults in the room, and they, of different levels, and they all had the same misconception. So that's all I'm saying about that.
And I do want to clarify, I did say supervisor, but my main point was that it's not their job. And you clarified that for me. It becomes someone else's. It's not at your level of discretion to determine
Right.
as that employee. So I want to clarify that. I did want to make sure so we're super clear what a yes or no vote on this. Now that it's amended, if we were to vote no, that means this employee is not on leave and could go back into the classroom. Okay, thank you. So if our intention is for him to not be in the classroom, then we need to vote yes, amended or not. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Sorry, what did you just say? Say that
She
again?
basically is,
I'm like,
because if we don't approve this right
Like, if I don't like the motion, the amendment that was just made, I'm not going to vote no now, because then I'm voting for him to go back into the classroom. So whether I like the amendment or not, I need to vote yes, otherwise he's back in the classroom.
not necessarily back in the classroom. That's not true.
Well, not on leave. Let me clarify, right, because they could put
Correct.
him in the warehouse or somewhere else like that, right?
All discussion done? Everybody good? Okay. Now we're voting on the actual.
We're voting on the motion as amended by Mr. Thomas.
Yep.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Ms. Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Susan?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Trent?
Aye.
Is everybody good? Don't need to take a
Yep.
break or anything?
No,
All right.
I think we're good.
We'll now hold a public hearing on proposed policy for revisions for public hearing and regular board member meetings, PO employee, employment and staff. Is there anyone here who wishes to address these items? Anyone here who wishes to address these items?
Got to call them individually.
What's that?
Each
Got
of
to
the
call each
policies.
one. So the first one would be 3120.
I did, employment to staff.
Oh,
Oh,
I did,
you didn't say the number.
yeah, I was looking for the number, sorry.
sorry. Move to approve?
Second?
Yep, any discussion?
No.
Paul, roll call, please.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Ms. Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Susan?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Trent?
Aye.
Next up, is there anyone here for PO 6210, allocation and use of ad valorem millage? Is anybody here who wishes to address these items? Anybody here who wishes to address these items? Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Paul, roll call, please.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Ms. Campbell? Aye. Mr. Susan?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Trent?
Aye.
PO 8407, safe school officers. Is there anyone here who wishes to address these items? Is there anyone here who wishes to address these items? Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Paul, roll call, please.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Ms. Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Susan?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Trent?
Aye.
We are now at board member discussions, reports, and recognitions. Mr. Thomas, or Mr. Trent. Can you go?
Yeah, I could go.
Okay.
I need a minute.
All
Yeah, no,
right.
everybody was kind of scrambling because we got to it pretty quick.
Well, that's fine. Just bear with me. I don't typically,
I'm ready when you are.
All right, go ahead.
All right. This week, I'd like to recognize an employee from Meadow Lane Intermediate School, elementary school. Ms. Barnett, the principal, had provided me some information about her, and I'd like to read it to you at this time. Ms. Barnett stated, "I would love to recognize our literacy coach, Mrs. Lisa Hershey, for the tremendous impact she has on both the staff and students at our school. Mrs. Hershey is an instructional leader who works closely with our grade level teams, meeting with teachers to collaboratively plan standards-aligned lessons that support strong literacy instruction across our campus. She also leads our LEAD Mentor program, where she supports new teachers by modeling effective practices in their classrooms and helping them build strong instructional foundations. In addition to supporting teachers, Mrs. Hershey dedicates significant time directly to our students. She teaches in our academic support program and leads 6 small reading groups each day, providing targeted instruction to help students strengthen their literacy skills and build confidence as readers. What truly makes Mrs. Hershey special is the way she makes learning joyful. Her reading groups are engaging and fun, and students are always excited when it's their turn to be part of her group. You may also spot Mrs. Hershey around campus with her beloved Woot Woot wagon and Cool Schools tools, celebrating students who have passed their iReady lessons. These moments of recognition motivate students and bring a sense of excitement and pride to learning. Mrs. Hershey is a welcome and anticipated presence in classrooms throughout our school. Both staff and students admire her energy, dedication, and unwavering commitment to helping everyone succeed. We are incredibly grateful for all that Mrs. Hershey does that strengthens our teachers, inspires our students, and contribute to the positive culture of our school community. So I would just like to mirror those comments and say congratulations, Ms. Hershey, and thank her for all that she does for Meadow Lane Intermediate Elementary School.
That had to be the best recognition I've ever heard. Good job. Who else? Who's next? I'm trying to shake it up a little bit because Ms. Campbell always gets called next and we go down the
That's
line.
right.
I know you-
Had to write one more note and I'm good now.
You good?
No, go ahead.
All right, so you'll have to bear with me on this. So this past weekend, we'll go from here. We had the flag football jamboree, which was amazing. It was great. It was all over the place. So it started as early as 8 in the morning, and I had the pleasure of starting off at the 8 in the morning over at Gulfview, and all the parents. What a showing! It was great. I'm sure everyone here is going to say where they went, and but it was like a big fair. I mean, it was the excitement that early in the morning. They had cheerleaders out from all the different schools. Each site had about 4 different schools that were competing pretty much all day long. So a shout out to all the principals that showed up. We even had one of the principals had to jump in and be a referee for the whole day. So he was out there. So started at Gulfview, went over to Audubon, and they hosted 3 other schools. And again, same excitement. The place was packed. Parking was out onto the street. And, they had a little food truck and, again, cheerleaders from, this high all the way up through. And then lastly, over at Roosevelt, and this one was special. They have such amount of land back there. They had 3 games going at the same time. But, this district is so well connected, and we care about students so much that we must have contacted Space Force because they were doing flyovers all day. Training, for the helicopters. And I said, of course, we scheduled that. But I think the second flyover, they realized what was going on, and they actually circled the field a little bit more, and the kids had a blast there that day. So that was a wonderful time. So a shout out to all the principals, the staff, the parents, and of course the students. These are kids that would probably, most of them would have probably still been in bed on that Saturday morning, but they took the time out to come out there, and they all had their uniforms, and it seemed like many of them, this was their maybe first shot at athletics on the field. It was really nice for them to experience that. So a shout out to the board here to approve all this, to get that in place, and actually have thousands of kids across the district participate in something other than maybe watching their phone on Saturday morning. So it was very nice. So I had the pleasure also to be over at Cocoa High School with the Your Vote is Your, with your voice.
Yeah.
And it was a great showing there in the auditorium with the kids. These kids get the assembly. They get a veteran up in front talking about the importance of voting. I had the pleasure of speaking and saying, look, guys, this is the first time in your lives that you can make an impact on the decisions that us old people have been making for you your whole lives. So you can pre-register, you can learn about the topics, and then you can get out there and vote. The only way you're going to change things is to put your vote out there. So I've had a pleasure all year visiting in my district, the high schools. And Tim Bobanek, Supervisor of Elections, has done a great job getting kids registered to vote. So a shout out to Principal Stewart and all the staff that made that possible. And then lastly, some state champions. I think some of us are going to be talking about that. This one, I'll specifically talk about our wrestling champions. So we had, I had 4 in my district. So Cocoa Beach, Gustavo of Ferrara, I'm really bad at pronouncing. That's my math guy, not an English guy. But Marin Island had 2, both Timothy and Trey. They took home the gold, and in Rockledge, Vlad Drown was the state champion there. So Brevard, and I know Matt's going to talk about it, he always brags about Brevard being the #1 county in the state for state champions. And this year we did nothing but add to that title of being the best in the county or in the state. So. Also, I just want to, a shout out to all the staff and all the teachers out there, because I know they're gearing up for, the stretch run. I mean, you say it's only March, but it's really close, and they're getting everything set up for all the testing at the end of the year. So, shout out to all the classroom teachers out there. We're supporting you, and we know you've got this one. So, I'm good.
Thank you, Mr. Trent.
All right. I did also get to go to a couple of flag football events. I did. Oh, yeah. I ran into Mr. Thomas and ran into a couple other people. It was a great day, and the kids had a lot of fun. I'm one of those people who has more fun talking on the sidelines and pay attention to the game. So, but I did want to do a public service announcement, since this is not just our shout-outs, it's also our talking points. I actually had a principal tell me, we've been talking about all this vaping stuff, tell me that they had a PA system because they were doing the national anthem and things like that they had to go on the PA system and tell the parents that they couldn't smoke or vape. So all the announcements to the adults who need to man up and woman up, you cannot smoke or vape on school district property. It's illegal, and it's also setting a truly terrible example for our children. So parents, and we've got a row of students in the front row, and some of them are nodding. Thank you for your support in that. Adults, we need to be setting a good example and have some self-control in a public situation, but especially on school board property where it's against the law. All right, so throw that out. Back to positive. All right, this room has been taken over, as well as multiple rooms across the middle of the ESF facility by Mission Moon for the last couple weeks. I got to judge one day next week, and I'm judging again tomorrow. It is such a fun event. They've kind of revamped it, and the students are really going with the flow, and it is really exciting to hear schools and their success and the different things that the originality they have to bring to their mission, and it's a lot of fun. On a couple Saturdays ago, we had the Elementary Music Festival. I got to go to the South Area concert, the Central South Area concert. It was wonderful, all the string students and the choir students, and we had Orff instruments and teachers performing and singing along with them. It was a wonderful day, and I very much appreciate all our elementary music teachers and Miss Minnie Orr for coordinating that, while she was also in the middle of helping to coordinate all the MPA contests that are going on at the same time. January and February and March is just really crazy time for music. So good, kudos to everybody. Last Tuesday, I believe, Dr. Rendell and I ate lunch. I don't know, my calendar, I'm having to go day by day, but I think it was Tuesday. We were had lunch at Mel High, where they had administrators and teachers, staff from Hoover, Central, and Melbourne, all coming together to share with us where we're going with the IB Middle Years program. So we have multiple schools that have the IB, Cocoa Beach, we've got Mel High, that's it, who have the International Baccalaureate program in our district. It's kind of like Cambridge. It is an internationally known program, unlike, like AP, which all of our schools have, which is, just a United States thing. So it's very recognized. People want to send their schools to those programs because if you complete the IB program, you can automatically get Bright Future scholarships. You can get easier admissions into multiple schools. But they have a middle years program that is kind of backing it up and creating a framework that sets students up for success. I really appreciate the way that we're going to be doing this at Hoover and Central, because it is not just going to be for the high flyers, gifted students. We're opening the doors for all students to start learning a language early, it'll go along with the things they're already doing. Like Central is an AVID school, so they're learning the specific note-taking helps and all of that. Hoover has their gifted program that's going to continue, but this is just an added piece. The students are excited. They're already doing the work, but they won't get to have the final approval by the IB board until next spring. But I'm just very proud of the way those three schools are working together as a feeder system. I think that's going to be very attractive to our parents, especially in the middle school realm, because it's such much rigor and just a great thing for all the schools together. But there is definitely a spirit of cooperation that was so unique and wonderful to see, as the principals of all three schools, the IB teachers from all three schools are there, and parents who are in that Melbourne High School, Hoover Central area, and of course you can always opt in to these programs. I think you're going to be excited about what you see in the coming years, and they're already seeing increased enrollment, increased ELOs and EPOs through the program. The other thing I would say about that is that even Melbourne High School is changing the structure of IB. Before, like when my kids first started going there, IB classes were only for IB program students. But now the idea is we want everybody, as they're going through Melbourne High School, and they'll be set up in Central and Hoover, everyone to experience at least one IB class during their high school, to experience rigor. And that is good practice. We want every student to have a taste of what a rigorous class is like. I know I was sitting next to my son last night, and he's picking his senior year classes, and he's picking an AP/IB combined course. And so, but the class behind him, that's the expectation, that they're all going to be a part of that. They're all going to be really doing this excellent work. Heritage High School has done this for years with Cambridge. The expectation is that every student who goes through Heritage will take a Cambridge class, an ACE course, while they're there. I think this is good practice, because they all need just a taste of it. Because some students don't know what they can achieve until they're pushed a little bit to try to do it. And so good job to all of them. And then my last recognition, I've mentioned to you guys before that I sit on the board of directors for the Florida School Music Association. Is the board that kind of makes the rules and guidelines for the MPAs, all the music contests. And when we get together, which we did last weekend, each of the organizations of the state gives a report. The Florida Bandmasters Association, the Florida Vocal Association, and the Florida Orchestra Association, they all come together to give us these reports. And as I was reading through the orchestra report, I recognized some names. And so I just wanted to congratulate Miss Marcy Spur, who is the orchestra teacher around the corner at Vieira Middle School. She was named she is going to be the all-state coordinator for the 7th and 8th grade all-state orchestra for this coming year. It's a big responsibility on top of what she's already doing to coordinate that whole process and then the event that happens in January. I also saw the name of Samantha Felber, who is the orchestra at Heritage High School, and she will be coordinating the 9th through 12th All-State Honors Orchestra. Again, the process and then the coordination of the actual event in January. And then as I kept going down the report, I recognized another name, and that is a student. Guy Francis Charleston, who is a 12th grader at Melbourne High School, who is in the orchestra under Miss Egan, for the student composition contest, middle division, these were the division winners. And so Guy Francis was the high school division winner for his piece entitled Slow Movement. And it's a really big deal. And so I'm super excited to have this recognition, but especially of our 12th grader, Guy Francis Charleston. Congratulations to him, and for Miss Egan for supporting him. They had to compose the piece, they had to record it using MIDI or live orchestra and submit it, and they had a whole group of judges. And so good job, Brevard Orchestra Programs. You are shining across the state as always.
All right, I'm up next. All right. Want to give a shout out to a former principal of ours, Miss Blair Lovelace. She has since retired, but she was the fearless leader of Coquina Elementary up until this coming school year. She was recognized by Florida Tax Watch. And thank you, Ms. Campbell, for attending that wonderful presentation. And thank you to Florida Tax Watch. One of the cool things that they do is that they allow the principal to pick a student, and they get to award that student 2 years of prepaid college, and it's an elementary school student. And so that I cannot even imagine how hard that is to do, but it's just a meaningful ceremony. So not only are you honoring the principal for their phenomenal leadership and the work that they've done there, but they get to also plant that seed, that legacy for that student coming forward. And so that was a very cool event. Thank you, Dr. Rendell, for attending that as well. I became the board liaison for the Circles of Care Advisory Council for the Homeless Coalition, and I really wasn't sure what I was stepping into with that. I thought, I'm not really, Mr. Thomas, I think I took that off of your plate. But I just have to say that group of individuals that sits in that room are really trying to tackle homelessness in Brevard County. And we work well with Stanley Briz. He helps with our drug diversion program. My board, you probably remember him coming and presenting, but he stepped up. I always ask our team, I say, okay, how many homeless students do we have, or students in transition, and then how many unaccompanied youth do we have, which is truly just a minor child that is couch hopping. And they give me that data, and I report it each time that we have one of these meetings. But Stanley's organization, he's working with our team in our district to figure out how to attack some of these things like cap and gown, their senior year expenses. If anybody's gone through their senior year or had a child through their senior year, it's very expensive. Prom, there's grad bash, there's all these events that take place. They all cost money. And when their students are just trying to figure out where they're sleeping tonight, that is just such a far-fetched idea. So I just want to thank you to Stanley for really being willing to step up. And we're working with Ms. Collado on figuring out what does a senior package look like, how much does it cost? And Stanley's going to work with some of his organizations to partner with us and help our students, which is a very cool thing. Want to give a shout out to Mayor Connors and the council for City of Titusville, as well as the Titusville Police Department. So recently, much like our bus arm cameras, there are cameras that were going up in the Titusville area. Now, this has been controversial in some areas. It hasn't been as successful, but Titusville has taken an approach similar to how we have on some of these things and really studied what didn't work, why it didn't work, and how can we make it work. And so these are going to be cameras that are installed that are right outside of the flashing light zone where our children are walking across the street. And if you drive in Brevard County on any given school day, you will see people who fly through school zones that don't even slow down when there's a kid standing right there literally trying to walk across a crosswalk. So to me, that's a huge initiative. So these cameras they're going to go into a trial phase, much like what we did with the bus arms. So there will be 60 days of warnings, which will gather some data for the city to know how many people are actually speeding through these school zones. They don't run all day long. There was a lot of, just stuff on the internet like, oh, this is Big Brother monitoring you, and they run all day long, and they're going to issue tickets all the time, and blah, 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 all false things, inaccurate. So this is just an initiative to really help our students arrive to school safely and go home at the end of the day safely. And hopefully it is a reminder to all the people that are driving, if you see that flashing light, please, please, please just slow down. There's nowhere that you need to be that is that important that it risks somebody's life on the other end. Want to also give a shout out to Ms. Rouse. I had an amazing visit at Oak Park. Jonathan from BFT went up and joined me for, I typically don't do unannounced visits, but we were in the area, and so it's like, hey, let's go see Oak Park and what they're doing. And just want to thank them for the work they're doing there. And I think when you look at some of the schools that, you hear things, everyone hears things, they are doing a phenomenal job. They're running the Ron Clark Academy, and I'm sure many of you have been in schools and recognize the Ron Clark Academy, and it's this house mentality. Like we might be different, I'm going to use the wrong word, different like departments or something, but we're all one house. And so it was fun. We got to sort Jonathan into a house while we were there, and every kid, they're all part of a house, and they're trying to raise the bar for their entire team, and it's all grade levels, and it just really brings it all together. So that was a fun school visit. Jonathan is also Team Revere like me, so that was a lot of fun to be sorted into that house. Board, I have one more thing that I need to ask of you, and I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time, but I guess since we're doing board member reports, and I'm going to go ahead and do this. As you know, I'm not a member of the FSBA for the board. There's several other members of you that represent there, but that saves our district a significant amount of money. I've brought this up before when there was an organization, but this one I think is a little different. So Space Coast has a Space Force unit, JROTC unit, and I was working with the commander out there. We got a field trip scheduled, very exciting. Well, with the field trip comes an expense of bus transportation, and that's an unexpected expense, and I honestly wasn't thinking that through all the way. So I'm just asking for board approval to be able to allocate some of that membership travel dues that I have every year left over because of not being part of FSBA. It's only a couple $100 to be able to cover the transportation costs for 40 students that are in the Space Force to be able to go over and experience what is right at Patrick. So hopefully we can recruit them and keep them here in Brevard County. So I think I would need board approval on that. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I'd have to go on an agenda, but it's too late to add it necessarily. When is the
Why
travel?
would she need money for her own budget?
It would be it would be the board. If it's under the threshold, the superintendent can approve, so the board can always give that guidance without a vote.
But I think what she's saying is, she has not allocated her revenue that she has inside of the board. Each one of us is allocated a certain amount of money.
Right.
And what she's saying is, I would like to take that and allocate that for the kids. However she feels, like, if I want to just turn around and go to an event, that's what I use to pay for it. And I don't have to go before the board to approve that.
No, yeah, that's not,
It was-
yeah.
But it was designated, we've had this battle before. It was
I'm not,
designated.
yeah, I'm not questioning that piece. I'm
Yeah.
questioning the total cost of the trip.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
$200.
Okay, so.
And it's actually our transportation, so it's not, we're not getting charter buses or
Right.
anything fancy. It's literally staying all in-house. And I just want to be able, because they're trying to figure out, where do we pay for transportation? What strand do we use that from? And I'm like, well, is that an okay allocation for it?
Right. And that would just be within the superintendent's threshold, so he can approve that.
Okay, so then I don't need board approval for it. is what
But here's the thing, hang on.
I'm just
Because
trying
Ms.
to-
Campbell, just so you know, this has been going on since, Ms. Campbell and I have been doing this since 2018. Every year, they take and scoop the funds out of the funding that you guys have,
Right,
right?
whatever's not spent.
But that was not what was originally intended, all right? I will say that, and I can, so that just started happening, right? I have issues with that. It's one of the things I have at the offsites to talk about that. But the thing is that the other piece is that we have authority to utilize the funding that we have for things that we want to help, as long as it's a school-based thing. So you couldn't go take it like remember that one you tried to go?
Right, there was
give
an
it to outside
organization, right, that wanted to come in and.
That kind of starts getting into that area, but for a school-based organization, for you to take $200 and cover the cost out of the allocated revenue that you have, I think falls under it, and I think,
Well, I just
Paul-
need guidance on legality of that and how would I
I
tell the
think
school
what we could do is give direction
if the
right
board
now.
supports that?
But supports the motion that you have the authority within your own budget to distribute to.
I gotta jump in here, Mr.
Yeah, go ahead,
Simpson.
go ahead.
Because the verbiage that you're using is inaccurate. You're saying we have authority within our own budget. I don't have a budget. I do not have a Katie Campbell budget. I have never had a Katie Campbell budget as a board member. What there is a line item, and I would rather take $200 out of my pocket and pay for those guys to get where they're going than for us to set up a precedent, which I believe is a problem. So let me just walk through this. We have line items that are specifically lined out for board membership, board registrations, I think it's listed, and board travel that Lena manages. And those things can cover chamber luncheons, or if we want to join, what are some of the other organizations? It covers those of you guys who are part of the EDC or things like that.
Yeah,
That also
CivMil.
covers that. Right, CivMil, our memberships, registrations, travel, those kinds of things specifically. It's not lined out to be for a fund that we have as board members to hand out to schools within our district. That we have not, I know that happened previously. It was before my time on the board. It was specifically restructured. It is labeled that. And the reason why I don't want us to do something that we wouldn't let our employees to do, just so you know, I mean, we have, that they don't have the authority to do. I don't have the authority to take it's not my money, right? And the reason why I say this is it's travel, and there's this line item that says Campbell Travel. I frequently go over because I've been your representative on things, and so I've had to travel, in the years that I was on board of directors, had multiple travel things. And so, or I went to the national conference up in Washington DC.
Right.
We came and said, hey, so you
We
were
all
out
gave you
traveling.
money, the people
Right,
that
right.
had money in their budget
Right.
still.
We all came to a consensus that it was okay, because otherwise I was just not going to go. But we had people who weren't using it. Can we use that? Because I'm representing you guys in DC. Yes, but that's still to the purpose of it. If we have departments who change the purpose of the money, they have to submit budget amendments to us. The superintendent has to submit budget amendments, some of which we approved tonight, saying this is money going here, but we don't need it for there, we need it here, so we're moving it around. But it still has to be within their department. If they're changing the purpose for it, they have to submit budget amendments. I think I'm understanding that process correctly. So I just, as much as I want these guys to go on us to find a way, I just don't think this is the way
have a solution.
on principle.
I have a solution.
So, Ms. Campbell, I would definitely disagree with a couple of things that you say. If you did not have an account and you did not have it, then when we're told that we're getting close to our threshold, then that is exactly what that is. And just so you know, as I've requested the budgets in the past, it has come down that the board budgets, and then inside of it, how much each one of us are going to spend with how much money's left over. So whether the finance department decided to move to a direction that there's one big account or whatever, we're still told when we get close to being at a certain level, which means it's identified.
I've actually never been told.
That's why you came, because you said that I was going over. And you said, I better come in and ask. You stated that. You said I was
Yeah.
going over. What were you going over? Your allocated amount that was inside of your area. There's a certain amount for every one of us. And the reason that Ms. Wright thinks that she has money left over from the FSBA is because we are allocated a certain amount. I will not sit and just say like I'm wrong when that was the case, and finance must have made some changes, but we didn't know about it, but we're still under the assumption that each one of us has an account.
All right,
Hang on. Now, this is gonna be a thing, because this keeps coming up, and never should they have ever pulled out the bottom of our revenue, and never should we not have had our accounts. I have an issue with that. So if that's the way it is, then we need to go back to the way it was. And right now, we all know that we have limits, and that's what she's trying to get under. And I have the perfect authority, I would definitely agree and say that she can use that 200. Not only that, if we have to have a discussion about it right now, we can do that. And we can allocate to allow us to use our revenue for anything inside of the school district that we feel is going to improve the kids for a school-based function. I literally feel that right now. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, if I might, just, I think I have a really easy solution to this. So should I chaperone that field trip and I will be on that bus, then that would be considered a travel expense for myself because I need the bus, technically speaking, would it not?
I don't know about the travel part. I'd have to look at the policy, but I do believe the board can provide consensus to allow the superintendent to pay for the $200.
Okay. It's an insignificant amount, and this sounds like a conversation that's probably a much larger conversation where the board needs to hash it out. And I'm sorry every time I open this up, but I thought this one, I'm like, this is the Space Force, this is going to Patrick, like, no big deal. So I apologize for stirring the pot on that one. I thought this one was an easy one. So what do you recommend? How do I go about this?
Just, the board can provide consensus to allow the superintendent to fund that trip.
Okay, board, can I get the board's consensus on allowing the superintendent to fund the transportation to that trip?
Yes, I'm good for that.
So can I? Yeah. I just want some clarification. Is it to provide funding for that trip from Mrs. Wright's travel account? Is that what we're asking for?
Yeah, I think that's what she's asking, to transfer funds that are allocated to the board for travel.
Understood.
That would otherwise be allocated to her for travel to FSBAA.
Correct. I just want to make sure I understood the
So, yeah,
direction.
she's asking the board for consensus to move $200
Should have
from
just given him $200.
that to.
No, this is a great fight. This is
Opportunity to
great.
take it from somewhere else until we can hash out the process and an agreement in the board, because I don't want us to open this up, and then we've opened what I believe is a hornet's nest. This is clearly a point of disagreement between
Clearly.
Mr. Sousa and I. But we need more than just the 7 of us to weigh in. I think we need to make sure we can look at it and go back and find out when did it change or whatever. But if is there another way to do this besides $200, besides doing weird things with the budget?
Yeah, so what I suggest is that we review how the money is allocated right now. I believe each board member is given a string with an amount to begin, one for travel, one for memberships, as Mrs. Campbell stated. That's what the money's supposed to be used for. But with board direction, we can use it for something else. I think a longer-term conversation would be, do we want to continue that restriction or that allocation, travel, membership, or do we want to take the amount that usually covers travel and membership and put it in an account for each board member to authorize the use of? That's a different conversation, similar to what was happening before that Mr. Susan and Mrs. Campbell have alluded to. But right now, if I have board consensus, we can make sure we pay for the field trip with some travel money from Mrs. Wright's account.
And
Do you
are
need
you guys
an
okay
official?
with bringing this back on March 31st?
Yeah, I think this is probably a good area of
Can we talk
discussion
about it
that's
on
needed.
March 31st? Okay. All right, we'll bring that back.
Do you
Good,
have
good
board
point, Ms.
consensus, or do
Campbell.
you want-
You have board consensus to move.
That's
with
all
what
3
you-
people approved.
Yeah,
At least
Ms.
so at least
Campbell,
3.
Okay,
so
all
at
right.
the time to talk about. All right, we're good? Okay.
Sorry.
Anybody else got anything crazy? Want to throw something on the table here?
No, I'm good, actually. This is good.
All
All
right.
right, everybody else is good? Ms. Campbell, you're good? Everybody so far? I just wanted to take a second, Ms. Campbell, and agree with you on the school zones. Years ago, we had a student that was crossing Post Road when they put up those midpoint blocks, you know, the ones that flash and they go through there, and was killed. And so I started this whole journey of trying to get into where the school zones are at, try to slow the kids down, work with the DOT, and it was the biggest honeycomb of stuff that I couldn't, there was no, it took DOT 50 approvals and 60 months to get a hold of anything and do anything. So anything you can do to support those school zones in that area, I'm 100%, and thank you for bringing that to the board.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I also went to the flag football games, and when we were at the flag football games, I walked up and found out that I was going to coach one of the teams that literally 5 minutes before it started, and took it and had to go up against one of my former coaches, Mr. Owens, who I tied, and then he beat me in the finals. So it was a lot of fun, and had a lot of fun doing it. I wanted to send a big shout out to Gary Miracle for what he did. Gary Miracle held it here, and for Vieira, and I've asked him to kind of work. So one of the things that you hear from all of our football coaches in this flag football is that they want to help coach, but there's no connectivity, and we don't have the availability or the bandwidth to try to start creating that. So I asked Gary if he would come in, work with our area and your areas and stuff to connect the high school football coaches down to the elementary schools so that they can coach them prior to the little 6-week season, just to come down 2 days a week. They're more than happy to do it.
Sure.
They just needed that availability and stuff like that. So he's going to work on pulling all that together. I have some other things down here, but I'm good. All right.
Hey, one of the things I wanted to highlight on the flag football was I saw a lot of high school football players reffing and supporting, and I think that was fantastic.
Yeah.
So kudos to those coaches who reached out to the Bayside football team was out in multiple
That's so
ways
good.
supporting, and I think that's a great partnership. I don't know if I was going to ask Mr. Robinson if he did it on purpose, but if he didn't, I think that's a great idea to reach out to our football coaches and ask them to get involved, because it's so, the kids loved it, and it was good. Honestly, a lot of those guys, they may never play in college or pros, but becoming a ref on the side on the weekends is a good gig, and if they're getting this experience, they're not getting paid for this, but if they're getting this experience kind of built in, I think that would be great resume building for maybe a good weekend job.
So the guy that runs all of the referees is putting together a package that we'll look at that allows our our high school students who are 18 years old to start refereeing many of our things and other stuff. It's a whole like feeder system that he wants to put together. So right what you were saying. And I just want to tell you, I'm impressed that you went down there, so I have to definitely make some of the music stuff now. Is what
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Mr.
have to
Susan,
do.
I go to a lot of the things.
No, I
Most
know
of
you
them.
go to a lot of things, but it's impressive that you were supporting that sports stuff, so thank you.
I,
All
I
right.
didn't shout out to Miss Harris because I went to them as well. I didn't even put that on my thank you because everyone else did. But Miss Harris, thank you for attending all the North End ones. Appreciate you.
And Mr. Reimer?
All right.
All right.
With that, we'll take a break.
No. We have one more item.
Oh, yeah,
but
you have one more
Ms.
item.
Wright does need a recess prior to us doing that.
What's that?
Prior to voting on this.
Prior to the last vote, Ms. Wright wanted a recess.
Okay, so we're going to take a recess.
Then we'll come back, yep.
Thank you.
chair recognizes the board's attorney, Paul Gibbs.
Board members, I'm notifying you that advice is needed regarding the pending litigation styled Brevard Federation of Teachers Local 2098 versus School Board of Brevard County, AAA case number 01-25-0002-4853. Pursuant to 286.011 Florida statute known as the Government in the Sunshine Act, I am requesting an attorney-client session with the board for the purposes of discussing strategy and/or expenses regarding this litigation. I will ask the board's clerk to cause reasonable public notice of the time and date of this attorney-client session and the names of the individuals attending to be published. If the board approves, I will work with the board clerk to coordinate dates for the attorney-client session, working with our counsel's availability, and provide notice of the meeting inclusive of scheduling a court reporter. It is anticipated that approximately 2 hours will be needed for the session. As required by this statute, only the following individuals may be present: school board members Katie Campbell, Matt Susan, John Thomas, Jean Trent, Megan Wright, Superintendent Dr. Mark Rendell, Paul Gibbs, General Counsel, Jeff Mandel, and Molly Mullen of Fisher Phillips, in person or via Teams. As required by statute, I will ask a court reporter to record the session. Their notes will be fully transcribed and filed with the clerk of the school board. Upon the conclusion of any litigation and/or settlement of all claims arising out of this case, the transcript will be made public record.
I recommend the board hold an attorney-client session pursuant to Section 286.011 Florida statutes to discuss strategy of pending litigation. If there are no objections, I will instruct our attorney to work with the board clerk and schedule as soon as the matter may be heard. Everybody good? Good. All right. We're going to take a brief recess. Thank you.